The topic of the day was TPP, Trans-Pacific Partnership. Well, who are the partners? And is it a transnational privatization of whatever the public had in the first place? They're not telling us what's in these rulings. There's no way the public is fairly involved in these discussions. What would you like to tell Canadians about the TPP?
Well, partners in this case are corporations, banks, lawyers, and some designated government officials. None of this has gone through any parliament, no discussion, to the United States Congress or Senate. Nobody knows what's involved. And they have already made agreements. What they will sell, how they will sell, where they will come from, is all secret. Now, after the fact, they will say they will get it ratified. When you go for ratification, MPs don't know themselves. You ask an MP that I'm speaking about TPP, they say, is that good or bad? Imagine a politician who wants to be Premier of Ontario from a party and says, is that good or bad? They don't know what's in it. So, but they're coming to you for votes. I'm asking them question, why are you here? Why are you in my temple? Why are you in my church? How about TPP? Is that good or bad? That's a politician asking me. So, all right, even if I've informed them that here it is, you decide whether it's good or bad. I'm not telling you whether it's bad or good, right? But the politician has no time for that. They're only interested in getting elected. And to get elected, they have to have money. And our electoral system, money comes from contributions, and whoever gives more contributions wins. So the whole system is overloaded with corruption. The system has broken down.
Yes, yes. And this is a way of them locking it down further and further. We were told promises prior to the last election that we will have proportional representation in the next election. I haven't heard anything from the recently elected new government, but that is something that would help make things fairer, because one vote would be worth one vote rather than just the majority takes all.
Well, you know, there is proportional representation in Australia and New Zealand. They do get a definite number of green representatives allotted to them. But do you think it's any better there? No, it isn't. So it's still in the hands of a few politicians. They get elected. One becomes green, the other becomes NDP, somebody becomes conservative, somebody liberal. But that they're not getting in the fundamentals of the issue as a country. Because the issue is not which party, proportional representation. When it's brought to people, those people asking for vote, whether it's Greens or whoever, they still haven't articulated the issue themselves. Where are they? Do you hear any Green Party people or NDP people saying this TPP is bad and why it is bad? Have they done the analysis? I haven't heard from anybody saying that it's bad. Take whichever party. So if they don't know, they're giving you these slogans, proportional representation. I'm willing to sign on the petition. I have signed. But what is it going to do? Nothing. First of all, it's not going to happen. If it does happen, it's not going to change anything. So we need a fundamental change of honesty. That's what's needed, and that's what politicians are not willing to. This is just a way of saying, well, you know, proportional representation, just get me elected as well.
Well, most politicians are saying they don't want it, and there's 5 or 6 different versions of proportional representation, and there's false versions. And proportional representation does exist, and the referendum system does exist in some countries where it does work very well. And there'd be a wider diversity of voices if it was that way, because 10% of the vote would, instead of having no voice, would then have 10% of the voice.
Absolutely correct. But people have to know what the issues are. Yeah. Before I vote, even if there's proportional representation. If I don't know what I want from the politician, if the politician doesn't respond to that, even if I know, then proportional representation, what will that do to society, which is what they're going to serve? So you're still feeding into a broken system. The votes will get distributed, but our parliamentary system, you still can, there's no referendum on issues like this. There's no hearings on issues like that. So proportional representation, let's say you have 10 Green MPs, or 20 or 30 or 40 NDPs, well, it will still go through because there's majority on the other side. So how does that help?
Well, sometimes it starts with a small group of people like us talking about the TPP and bringing in as many people as you can. On another point here, I'd like to talk about how can we build more support? How can we get different groups and different organizations to talk to each other so the left hand knows what the right hand's doing? Like today's talk on TPP, there's a lot of other groups out there that are concerned about this, but they don't know that there was this meeting here today.
Now you're talking. You see, if people on their own identify issues, they hold public hearings on their own, they bring resolutions, they begin to make demands. Now you know what you want. Then the proportional representation can work if those parties say, yeah, I support you. But if you go in the vacuum without knowing what you want, then you vote once, then you wait 4 years. Then you vote again, you wait another 4 years. That doesn't do anything at all.
4 years is too much. 1 year would be better to keep them on their toes.
But this is it. I mean, there are other countries like Switzerland, if they're major, big issues, then they have referendum. France has referendum.
Which is direct democracy.
Well, it could be maybe direct democracy if it's a fundamental thing. If Britain or some country wants to get out of the EU, that's a referendum. If we wanted the Charlottetown Accord, that was a referendum, right? Those are big issues. But the day-to-day things affecting people's health, their pensions and schooling and those kinds of things, we haven't, as a society, we never sit down and discuss and come up with proposals. We have to have proposals. If you're talking about food, say for example, I bring up a proposal and say education should be given in schools around growing food. Where am I going to go? Who am I going to tell? Right? So therefore, I have to go and explain my ideas in small groups and churches and build these alliances, and people hold these discussions as a society. Then it can come to a point, you go to the provincial government because it's a provincial responsibility. You say, all right, we want this curriculum, not optional, that vote on it, that it should be made compulsory. Right? Yes. Now you have healthy food. Now your kids are learning also. They're in school. They're learning to cook. They're learning to be sociable. That all those things that used to happen in families and on families at farms. Now you're bringing that kind of lifestyle, that way of living into a modern society which has become urban. Because you can't go back to the villages or farms anymore. Not that nor am I recommending that. But what I'm saying, if now there's nuclear family, very few children, they all have to be in school. So the school becomes a family. Teachers are part of the family. Grandparents are part of the family. We have to bring all that back in a modern system. But there has to be discussion. So there will have to be policy proposal discussions and so. But we are all stuck in TPP, which is coming from the other side. It's all supporting only how to make more money from money I have. That's...
And the 5 toxins that are in our food that you mentioned, antibiotics, GMOs, pesticides, slaughter waste, etc. Every single one of those is a money maker for the people doing it.
Absolutely.
And there's no other reason why they're doing it. Who would want to do that horrible work unless they were making a lot of money on
Imagine
it.
that's money making from making food toxic.
Yes.
Is making money from creating disease. Is making money from after creating disease, trying to treat that. So it's money going all the way down the drain.
It's in a sense creating crystallized suffering.
And money going down the drain. Because when they have made money, what do you do with that money? That money, let's say, it has now gone, the bank has become very rich, right? The bank is not providing any service. And so they, do this kind of work, they pay $25 million a year to the bank manager. So what does the bank manager do with the $25 million? So executives, MPs or managers, mayors, all these people are funneling up money taken away from the services they used to provide for free. You can't go anywhere without paying now. You can't park, you can't go to a museum, you can't even send your children to school, and you have to send supplies from home. Who took away that money? Is a question to ask. What happened to that money? Why can't they afford? Who took away? I mean, after all, there was money before. We have tolls on roads and so forth. All that money is still now being collected. They didn't used to collect it. Now they are collecting. Where's that money going?